Am I not alone? That list could have kept on going and going and going. It was actually quite fun, but it was also a little bit sad, thinking back on it. I think it's true that we all lead really, really, really busy lives, and I think Vince has just sort of touched on that. I think I lead a busy life anyway. I'm not sure if you do. It can almost be suffocating sometimes, but it's also what we crave. When things slow down too much, we feel like we're missing something. And the proof of that is, I think, that any spare minute that we have, we're catching up on things, aren't we? We're catching up on emails, we're looking at our phones, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, the latest news, to see what we've missed out on. But for me, that's just the thing. I think what we're really missing out on isn't really on our screens. It can sometimes be right next to us. And here are some shots that, you know, I've been that guy before. I'm sure some of you have been that person too. As an example, and this is something that once again dawned on me the other day, we're dog sitting at the moment, looking after a friend's dog. And a dog is just a brilliant conversation starter. I used to walk down the street and, you know, not really, you'd smile at people, but you wouldn't ever stop and talk to them. Ever since I've had this dog, I've met more people in my neighbourhood than I have in the past 5 years. The moral of the story is get a dog. But a dog, just like children, is hard work too. I digress. But yeah, those people right next to us, I think it'd be fair to say are, you know, the most important people in our lives. These people that surround us each and every day, and I just don't mean children, I mean our colleagues, our friends, our family. But somehow we just let all these distractions get in the way, don't we? So tonight's story is really all about connection. And it's a story about a desire to create sort of more meaningful connections. So Vince has already spoken about Mollie, the incredible Mollie, who's now a good friend of us at Frost. We first met Mollie in our old studio in Surrey Hills, I think 2 and a bit years ago, something like that. It feels like a lot longer than that, but it was about 2 and a bit years ago. And Mollie, as a new mum, spoke of her desire to want to connect in more meaningful ways to what she called her, you know, as her tribe, and also her daughter Zoe, who's very cool, by the way. She also spoke about the isolation that she'd experienced in being a new mum, you know, going from a full-time job, the hustle and bustle, the socialness that comes with that, to sort of the isolation of being at home with a new child. Fair to say, Mollie? Yeah. Her story really resonated with me straight away, not only as a dad, but as a husband, a father, a colleague, a son, you know, the list goes on, all these things you are to different people. Mollie had this amazing vision to create an environment, a service, an experience that could almost be the antidote to this. A space that could foster real connection. Pretty ambitious, right? So hand up if you have children here. I'm just sort of trying to get an understanding of what we're looking at here. Not that many. You can put your hand up if you are a parent. And you've all been here, chances are, if you are a parent. I'm not sure why you'd go there if you want one, but...
That's dodgy.
Yeah. Oh, you know, think back to the McDonald's playlands, things like that, like everyone's experienced these types of things, right? It feels like entering these spaces, it feels like you're diving into a giant glass of red cordial, a big bag full of sugar. This, you know, what it does is it conjures images of not very nice things. Screaming kids, sticky plastic equipment, loud primary colours, horrendous food, if you'd even call it food. But, you know, for kids, they're attached like moths to a flame, aren't they? Like, it's like, just come here. On the other hand, what's in it for us? Nothing really makes sense. You feel like a foreign object. Your senses become tortured. Your nerves feel like they've been put through a cheese grater. And everything there really isn't for you, including the coffee. What this does is it results in two different types of experiences. Sorry, two different separate experiences. But it's more than just the separate experiences. What it actually does is it disconnects you. You walk away just like not really engaging, not really talking about it. The kids are like fall asleep in the back of the car and the parents go home wanting to have a very stiff drink. You can't wait to put the kids to bed. It's incredibly disconnecting. So we really then set ourselves, you know, a big goal to create a new type of experience that could truly connect. At Frost Collective, we do quite a lot of customer experience mapping, and for those that you don't, that aren't familiar with that term, it's really about sort of listening and learning from people. And I guess as a result of this, where you end up is you end up with a whole bunch of clues, a whole bunch of insights and opportunities that hopefully will, you know, go some way to getting it right, as Vince said. The next step on from that is actually then making sure that you have a really, really, really empowered, you know, group of people that actually work in the place that understand it too. So as I said, we did a lot of listening to people. We listened to parents, we listened to children, educators. And we put it all sort of down, and these are the things that we learned. This is what people wanted. Seems pretty, a lot of these things feel relatively obvious, but some are also quite profound. People wanted an experience that was, you know, where you could cultivate a relationship, where you could nurture one, stimulate, but not too much. A space where you might learn something, a space, you know, an experience that you would cherish, one that you'd be able to take home, one that might even advance both parent and child, and ultimately something that you would share. So going back to that idea of connection and the importance of connection, having an experience that could be shared. I guess when you think about, you know, you think about what's missing, there aren't really a great amount of places that cater for both parents and children alike. They're not really ever designed from the outset with both parents and children alike. So it was there that we landed on these two words, very powerful words, pure play. And this sort of becomes for us the why NUBO exists in the first place, the why people would want to come here. Play should ultimately be a deeply rewarding experience for children and parents, creating pure enjoyment from connecting with each other. So that was our line in the sand, that was our sort of foundation, our brand idea, our ethos, our guiding light. Every decision was informed by this. So what do we mean by pure? The name itself, you know, is relatively self-explanatory. But for us, what we meant by it was everything being very much light and natural, metaphorically speaking, and not a light and natural and real palette. And the reason for this is we felt it was very important the people and what they were doing became the colour in the space. So the space very much sort of provides that, you know, it's almost like a blank canvas for your imagination to go off and explore and wander. It removes all of those unwanted distractions and allows you to focus on the most important thing, the things that are in front of you. And what we mean by play, yes, there's an element of, you know, go and have fun, go and play. But more importantly, it's built around the best practices for early childhood education through a lens of play. So all of those people that you see at NUBO, if you've been there, they're all very much trained educators. They're not just, you know, young kids working in their summer holidays. They're all trained educators who all have, you know, the experience, you know, front and center is the most important thing, knowing exactly what to do in terms of, you know, making sure that people have wonderful experiences. So what's in a name? Believe it or not, Little Shell was the name that NUBO could have been called. It just doesn't seem to fit anymore, does it? It seems completely foreign, but that was the name that I think Mollie first had in mind for this space, or somebody else had in mind, I'm not sure. And with her permission, we asked if we could go off and explore some others. It might have been called Kin Kin, which obviously speaks to nurturing. It may have been called Twigs at one point, obviously speaking to the natural and organic element. I guess throughout all these discussions, and there were many, ultimately what rose above was this idea of a cloud as a metaphorical, as a metaphor for, you know, what people can see. So everyone sees different things in clouds. This one here is obviously pretty obvious. But yeah, what people see, different things they imagine. And then came the name. And it's about this point in time that I should give credit to our design manager, Max, who managed to come up with this one. For those of you who don't know, NUBO means cloud in a language called Esperanto. Who's heard of Esperanto? Not many people, I hadn't heard of it either. But for those of you who don't know, Esperanto was a language devised in the 19th century, and it was devised to foster worldwide harmony and break down barriers. So having a universal language, that was the ambition. It was a lovely ambition. And then came, I guess, what we call our sort of consumer-facing, expression of NUBO, and really it should always be very active. And in this instance, we came up with this line, exercise your imagination. And if I can quote Einstein, who better? The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And I guess that's exactly what we mean by this. When you exercise your imagination, it can lead to really wonderful results. So from there, we went to work and thought about visually how might this come to life. We explored these two different territories, one being play, one being imagination. And these were some of the ideas that came out. So, things like this that feel like modular parts that you can control. Same with something like this. The idea of a door as being symbolic of imagination, or a window. This is when the cloud thing started to come into play, which was cool. We sort of looked at all of that though, and none of it really felt pure enough. And it was actually in the name that we actually discovered the idea, and by obviously rotating the B, the idea presented itself, the gift, as we call it. It's a really wonderful thing when that happens. It doesn't always happen straight away, but when it does, it's great. Looking at the palette, obviously speaking to the idea of a sky and a cloud. They're my boys. They're in the color palette, which is kind of cool. They're pure most of the time. They weren't very pure this morning. But as you can see, all of the colors are all very soft. All very soft, all very inviting, all feel very sort of natural. And I think that was another really big decision in terms of all the natural material that you see in NUBO. It's almost like you could be outside whilst you're inside. It sort of takes you outside. So then we went to work and exercised our imaginations and thought of lots of things that we see in clouds, or that we could see in clouds, and as you can see, we had a lot of fun. And then from there, I guess we then brought this to life. The possibilities are really endless in terms of all the things that you can do, and this became a really useful way of actually speaking to not only, I guess, the idea, but also to many of the experiences. And then I look at some of the things that we've done. It wasn't exactly at this point, but bear with me for the good of the story, that we were introduced to the gentleman who's going to speak next, Mr. Joey Ho from PAL in Hong Kong. Incredibly talented person. I guess the company that he works for is as well. And quite often, or more often than not, when we're asked to sort of create a brand for a space, typically the space has already been thought of, it's already been imagined, it's already been created, which means that often the brand parts are an application or a veneer on top. In this instance, we did all that work before we even had any idea what the space would look and feel like. And I think that that's one of the reasons why it's led to feeling like such a cohesive experience. Everything came from that idea of pure play. So this was Joey's canvas. The window was probably the most exciting thing about it. NUBO, for those of you who don't know, sits in a precinct called Sydney Corporate Park. It's not terribly imaginative. It's almost like we need to do something that felt completely different to that. This site used to be, believe it or not, an indoor ski slope. I'm not sure if anyone ever went to that, but it was an indoor ski slope. That was what it used to be. Our brief to Joey was relatively simple, I think. And it was to almost sort of create this idea that you were walking into a cloudscape. I guess when you think of being up in the clouds, the only thing, the only sort of limit to your imagination is where you can go, like it's really endless. So that was very much our brief. And I think more importantly, the desired outcome was to really create a space where people almost sort of felt like they were almost forced to be present, to escape the everyday and be present. And yeah, ta-da. Pretty amazing piece of transformation, right? So throughout the entire experience, and Joey's going to talk to this in more detail, but obviously there are many different types of play. This one here is functional play, where you obviously, that huge climbing gym where, you know, something's in front of you, you're there to sort of use it and utilize it. Imaginative play, so you see the swimming pool there, as it's affectionately known. It's not a ball pit, it's a swimming pool, where kids can sort of, you know, pretend that they're swimming, and there's often, you know, marine animals and things in there to discover. Symbolic play with probably the coolest library in town, I think you'd agree, the reading garden, with all of these little nooks and you know, corners for kids to go and often get lost in a book, which is then sort of very much the centerpiece of the library is this amazing hot air balloon. Who wouldn't want to go up there and read? It does make these sort of things very, very exciting though, I think, for young kids. Constructed play, it's like Lego but in life size. You can actually build things around you, and I think doing that with other people as well is also a big part of the experience. Another form of constructive play is where kids are actually invited to make things, be it cupcakes, be it pizzas. I've not been there after that's been done. I can imagine that the cleanup would be fairly extensive. And some more examples there of kids making things. Exploratory plays, so I guess in terms of the art room. So I guess at school where there's often, you know, there's often a desired outcome when you actually embark in, you know, creating something with paint or whatever it is, there's got to be an outcome. In this room here, kids can pretty much go off and do whatever they want. There's plans for coding and robotics coming soon. So it was then that we were then asked to sort of think about, well, what would the signage layer inside NUBO be? It always felt like it'd be a light touch, but ultimately it needed to make sense to, you know, our two audiences, children and parents alike. This was a workshop that we'd done previously, but I think the learnings were quite, well, profound. And so we asked kids what they actually thought of these things that I think that we take for granted each and every day. And their comments were these, so straight arrows are boring. Who wouldn't want to take the journey on the left-hand side? Again, this symbol that we all understand, but for kids, what does it mean? He is bald. He is old. This guy here, I mean, what does that mean? He is jogging. He really needs the bathroom. So, I guess from all of that, what really sort of came through is that the space should ultimately feel really intuitive for kids and parents alike. And we sort of had this idea of, you know, creating a bilingual space. So of course, why would you not create a doorway for just kids to walk through? It's empowering for them. You know, they say, Mum, Dad, you go through the big one, this little one's for us. It's kind of cool. Another, I guess, expression of a bilingual space, creating the coolest bathroom in town, just for kids. So that giant octopus there is obviously where you wash your hands. I mean, you'd never have to ask your kids to wash their hands again, they'd just do it for you, wouldn't you? And I guess when we did think about the signage, it was really important that kids might learn something from it. So as opposed to writing art room or cafe or library. It was actually putting in these really sort of active doing words to actually sort of help and guide them with the various experiences in the space. But everything was very sort of tonal, a light touch. Mollie told me an interesting story the other day where it says climb. Obviously climb speaks to the large sort of slide there, but there was a small child that had climbed up on this wall. One of the educators went up and kindly asked the child to get down off the wall because it wasn't safe, and he said, "But it says climb." Right, he was. And then I guess for the little ones too, I guess more sort of sensory tactile expressions with all of these, lovely sort of pictograms that speak to the various experiences in the space as well. I guess when we think about the experience, it does very much begin before you even get to NUBO. And so I guess this is the experience that people can have on their phone. And it's simple, it's designed for kids to be able to use just as much as parents, but just this really nice idea that every time you kind of scroll through the site or touch the site, it sort of has this change in colour, so you're actually in control of that experience. The language that's been sort of, I guess, introduced into the space, I'm not going to read that, but it's really enticing and really wonderful and kind of, makes you want to be there. This idea of this reception desk, has everyone read that? Yeah? This idea of this reception desk where, as the parents sort of standing there doing what they're doing, paying, there's this lovely stairway that goes up on top of the reception desk where you can kind of look out and check out what you're about to do, so you haven't got these like nagging little people, saying, "I want to get in, I want to get in." It's actually really nice. Even at the entrance, the kids are obviously very, very excited when they first come in, so giving them, I guess, an experience to sort of slow down, put their shoes away, but in a very fun way. That's my son Mitch, I just wanted to get him in there. Even the seats are cool. And I suppose more often than not, this space has been designed with everyone in mind. The coffee at NUBO is great as well, as is the food. It's all natural and organic, of course, and it's all good for you. Tea's great too. Tea's good too, Vince said. I think one of the things that I think is really encouraging is the feedback to date has been overwhelmingly positive. Obviously it's not perfect, it never will be. That requires constant attention, constant focus. And that's something that we're very determined to sort of help Mollie do. But what's great is that when you actually look, all the experiences that other people are having in NUBO, it always looks like the kids are actually getting something from the experience. It always looks like they're learning something, that they're being empowered, which is the desired result. And I think the magic of NUBO, yeah, sure, it happens at NUBO within the space itself, but one of the things that I think is the most magic thing are the lessons that you can actually take home yourself. Having been to NUBO a few times now, I'm learning. I'm not perfect. Hence the beginning of this talk. I'm not perfect. I'm not there. But I think that there's a lesson for us all in the experiences that we that we encounter whilst in a place like this, and being able to sort of take those home and find your own way of actually playing them out with your kids is hugely powerful. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Joey now.
Hello everyone, I just came this morning, so bear with me if I don't speak too fluently. And yes, I'm from Pale Design and in charge of the interior design. So this project is so unique that right from the beginning we have this contact with Frost. And obviously now we make them part of us because they are our power right now. So we are friends. And to be friends, actually, we click on the same idea that Mollie brought us. They want to change the scene, what's happening right now. We are not just doing a design project. We want to change the situation. So we liked the idea of pure play. But when think of it, it sounds so simple because the requirement is so simple. When the brief gives me just play. But when you look carefully to the notion, we start to feel that there's something missing. We need to dig further in, because play is not just simply what we know, because I think somehow it has been lost. Even for us, been working so long, and we realize even the kids now not really playing. So we think something's wrong. So when that happens, you know, because I'm from Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong the kids actually don't have the luxury to play. If they have time, they have to learn. They go to piano lessons, ballet lessons, violin lessons, all sorts of lessons, okay, to get their qualifications, certificates, or experience. And when they do well, they're free, then they play. So when I came to Sydney, I realized, wow, the kids here are so lucky. They just play all the time. But it means then, but I find there should be a link. Because I realized what they play is really simply play. They just sweat, go crazy, and have fun, and they repeat again. Yeah, and are you sure that is really what play means? Because again, in Hong Kong, we also have a problem. We forget how to play, although they keep learning. So I think that triggers to think about, we should learn to play. So we should play properly. But how to play properly? I mean, no, play shouldn't be taught by people. Yes, but we can guide them. So we have to discover this idea of play. So when we have the promises, we realize in very first approach, we do it very simply. We just divide the space into two parts. The first part, we let it to be the free play, means you just play freely. You go crazy, okay, with the equipment. And the other part, the color is not too dark. Huh? The other part, they will be guided by teacher or program. So there's already two kinds of play. Okay, it's 50-50. So from here, okay, let me talk about. No, I don't want to be very technical, but I want to point out this because that inspires us. Like why just now I mentioned about we should learn how to play again. So when we look at functional play, we know that functional play is for kids that they try to open things and close things, throw things, or climb up and down. So it's very repetitive, and also they kind of do this thing again and again, actually to get use of their surrounding. So actually the concept of functional play is to get them familiarized with their environment and explore. That is the main thing. But what happened? So with this playhouse, yeah, I remember this. Okay, Mollie, although we kicked off, I mean, they brought us, they tell me, I'm so sorry, we already have ordered this equipment, okay, from Germany, and they already paid the deposit. And I told Mollie saying that, we have to return this to them, okay? Because, like I said, this is really a functional play, but the notion of functional play is not relying on the equipment itself, because it will be we didn't push the function meaning into another stage. So we propose, we say, how about we build a real architecture? We build a villa with a swimming pool, and it must be contemporary. It must be a modern villa. Okay, it's not a kind of pitch roof. No, we're gonna do something so cool for the kids. And yes, we convinced them. They really, I don't know what they do with the deposit, They're not us. So we do this rendering, actually doing really full scale, kind of two-story house with a pool in front. And actually, the whole structure, we actually based on the way they climb and the space they engage. And we realized this kind of functional play, anytime they come to this structure, they have new way of playing, and they feel the space, and they kind of go into the house. So we are very convinced, and I think through what we observed after what we already did, we are very happy that we really didn't use that equipment. And okay, let's go to another concept about symbolic. Same thing, symbolic, it means that the kid maybe push a box and pretend it's a car, right? Or maybe pretend it's a rock. So that is a very simple thing for them to develop imagination. So that's the concept of symbolic play. So, of course, Frost gave me a very tough job. Okay, NUBO is crowd. So you need to do something about the crowd. So we're thinking, okay, so that is very symbolic. So what I did is we started to think something out of the box. So we think of this reading garden is actually related to this symbolic play. And the story behind is, actually I'm thinking like, okay, I'll be on the crowd, like, literally. So if I can be really free on this, and I can go all the way up and far, and this sensation, the only possible way is like you go into a story, a fantasy. So that's the way we want to use this symbolic concept into, so we propose this library. And the library is not just putting books, we want the kids to go back to that kind of fantasy. They go into niches, and of course we use a hot air balloon to push them a little bit, So I think that is the idea behind. We want them to have this new connection to another level of connecting, even, like I said, fantasies. So that's where we connect the symbolic play. And constructive play is much easier. Actually, as what you know, is you're just building blocks, get things around your environment and affect, and they can manipulate environment and learn something, especially to get some kind of coordination. But we think, yes, actually you manipulate the material. So simply we just use workshop. So the workshops, as you can see, the art room actually is not really an art room because they can play materials. You don't have to finish any homework. You just simply, get wow and experiment. Explore and just construct or even deconstruct. Yeah, I think that's the idea. So not only the crayons, the paint, even you can use the food to construct things. And food is also one of the media to be constructive. And I really thank you, Mollie. They really make it happen. It doesn't stay as idea. At the time when we talk about it, we're so excited, But when I saw they really make this program, I'm so happy. Yeah, because the concepts come true. So that's NUBO. So I think this is the first time. Okay, thank you, Mollie. So I can show them something new. So what you have seen is what we have been working totally using the concept of pure play. And be frank, we are trying out. We have no idea how far it goes. Are we right or wrong? I mean, we are designing, we are exploring, we are looking at how the response and also how the result. So that is the only way to tell us whether what we are thinking is actually clicked to the idea. So we have a new challenge at Chesswood. So the new challenge is the notion of drop-off. Because I have never heard of this word until I come here and they tell me drop-off. I said drop something. What's that? Because in Hong Kong, maybe we are lucky. We have a lot of this paint from Philippines, Indonesia, and other regions to help us take care of our kids 24/7. I mean, since they have two, So we don't understand what's this. So I'm curious. I talk about then I start to realize, wow, it's not easy to be a parent in Australia. You work and you have another job to take care of the kids. I said, well, that is really, I really pity them, So really, because I have a kid, really, I know how difficult it is. So this drop-off is quite evil word, you know. It's like, yeah. So now, we're thinking, we want to do a new project for the NUBO to tackle this problem, this notion. So, how to tackle? We want to make the parents don't feel guilty anymore. You know, you don't drop off anymore. Okay? But what you do is, you really give kids meaningful 2 or 3 hours, and you have a wonderful private 2 to 3 hours. That's our goal. So simple. So we reconstruct what we have, because the space is much limited. We cannot afford a very big playground anymore. So we're going into the mall, into a shopping center, and it's easy for you to bring your kids to shop, yeah? But what I'm saying is, inside the small space, but it's a more condensed time rather than a half day or full day. So this new challenge, we need new set of mind. But the background concept of play is still applying. But of course, we add new stuff. So this is the site where we have a typical shopfront, okay, and we're occupying. I don't remember how big. Too long a project. So what we think is not how it looks. Is again, we want a new sensation. First thing, we really want the parents don't feel any more guilty. That's so important. So we want to make the children so happy. So this is the welcoming entrance where you come in, and I won't go into detail, but I want to tell you the main point is, okay, we don't make into small rooms and put your children, you know, clustered in a room and shut the door and, you know, 2 hours, come back and pick them up. It's not, no more. We bring them into a new community. We want them to know other kids, maybe just a few hours. You know, we want them to have another new space. So this community is within a playground. And yes, we have Frost to help us again. Okay, develop some of the gadgets. I didn't say gadgets, some of the experiment connectors within this community. And we try a lot of fun, interactive, because the time is short. So we want them to meld into the community. So we need the space. So we create this new playground. It's a small space, but we create this tree house with a new community where they can play a part. And not just play a part, play together as a new people. Because every group, every time you meet, is different. And it's not going for a lesson. It's like you gather and you meet new people. And from there, you have different, it's not really a role play. That's why I say it's a small village. They start to maybe communicate and connect to among the children. And I think that is the core. But from there, we didn't stop there. We developed the new painting school. But we don't make it small room. It's almost like a very open, it's almost like outdoor, because it's very bright. And then they can paint freely inside the room, and we have different workshops. I didn't show you the drama room, okay? Yeah, you gotta see yourself. So and of course, we want to encourage parents, okay, to come then. You don't just drop off quickly, but you still can have a, you know, cup of tea before you go, or maybe talk to other parents. So we're still generous. We want to make the children feel easy. They don't feel that you leave them, you know, behind. But on the other hand, yeah, we want them to feel that they have a new community within this new NUBO in Chatswood. Thank you.
We're just going to go right back to the very beginning, Mollie. Like, did you wake up one day and go, I've got to do this? I mean, there's nothing in the market. What can I do? How did it start? Where did it come from?
Thank you for having me tonight, crowd, everyone. really glad and a great pleasure of mine to be part of this talk today. To answer Vince's question, it didn't start overnight. I guess for me, it's years of the experience of being a new parent in a foreign country, away from families, and had very little support because I didn't have many friends and didn't have any families in this region. So I went through that quite a big transformation from a full-time worker to having a child, and you spending your pretty much 24/7 with your precious little one. And that was quite challenging for myself, and also in the meanwhile I've made a lot of friends, new friends who are also new mums, I say in my tribe, and they facing the same challenges, dealing with new issues every day, and that really inspired me and also really touched me from the inside. I was wondering, you know, the society is moving so fast, and we constantly sort of being pushed in a lot of, I feel there's a lot of voices, and, you know, everything's so loud in the modern society, telling you what to do, how to do it. But at the same time, I still feel overwhelmed. How am I supposed to do all of that as a parent when I only have 24 hours in a day and I have 2 hands and 1 brain? Where is that support for me in the society? In the meanwhile, when I was overwhelmed, and I also, you know, have the daily sort of normal struggle of every single parent would have, where should I take my kids to today? We have to have a good balance of indoor-outdoor activities. We sort of go to park every day, but that's about it. We go to playgroups, but again, sometimes we do visit indoor play gyms, but it's not very healthy for me or for her or for us. So that's when I can't really comment whether it was naivety or boldness that really drove me here. I decided to try something different and really try to modernize the concept of play, which is important for adults and children alike. I wanted to be able to achieve a type of play that's healthy and nurturing for both, for parents and for kids. I did my research and you know, really boldly presented thoughts to Frost. And I was very nervous when I presented that to, first met one of the representatives, Emma, who is having a baby now, and I was quite nervous, and they actually liked the idea. And then we start the conversation about how to realize it. And then during that process, it actually unfolds a lot of new things for me too, because I actually definitely felt Frost pushed me really hard in terms of digging into the thought and getting to know the purpose behind the thought, the idea, the vision, and what are you trying to achieve, and then we could take that idea away and see how we can best achieve it. That definitely was one of the best learnings in the years of developing NUBO. And then during one of my trips in Hong Kong with my families, we discovered a beautiful center that was designed by Joey. Then again, quite boldly, I presented myself. We've changed all the itineraries and to stay back in Hong Kong, make sure when he comes back, he sees us at the door, and then presented my idea to Joey. Quite blessed, and Joey got on board. That's how we curated the team, started working on the NUBO journey together. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic journey, and I think he's going to start saying in the beginning how much work it is having a kid, and how much extra time and energy it takes, and most people don't start a business at that time, do they? Like you saw, and that's incredible, because you don't have, like, I'm very jealous of Joey, living in Hong Kong, having all those servants around you. Yeah, it's incredible. Because I know you very well, and Paul, your husband, and you both look after your daughter Zoe. You don't farm her off to you don't have a helper necessarily. I know my daughter babysits sometimes, but you're very hands-on, and you're both working incredibly hard. I mean, that's something quite, it's incredibly impressive, you know.
Thank you.
So congratulations on that. But was your childhood very playful? And like when you were a kid, were you doing what Joey says? You were just learning and doing ballet and, you know, doing all that stuff? Or did you have a very playful upbringing?
Oh, no, my childhood was quite simple. So in about, I would say 30 years ago, I'm Chinese, so I grew up in China for about 25 years until I got to Australia. My childhood was quite playful. Yeah, it was. I had a great connection to the nature because my mum and dad was busy working. I think that generation was quite a tough generation where, you know, they didn't really have a lot of time to spend with us. They spent most of their time on work, make sure they bring home food and necessities and for the kids. And back in the time, we didn't have any digital gadgets, so we spent, I have a younger brother, so me and my brother, we spent most of our time just playing with rocks, looking at insects, picking flowers, you know, sometimes catch bees, and we spent a lot of time on painting and playing with dolls, role plays. We did all the healthy stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but, you know, NUBO it's one of those projects that's kind of touched the world. Sometimes a project, you know, instantly gets talked about in blogs and it's winning awards all around the world. I mean, the last one last week was Frame in Holland, which was incredible. That just shows kind of the world has noticed it, not just a local project, but globally it's kind of recognized. Now, did you ever have that thought that would happen? Was that your ambition? Or is that important to you, that the kind of the world kind of sees NUBO as a, you know, this new brand?
It was definitely beyond my expectation, but also I would say that's one of the biggest rewards to the NUBO team, as well as Team Frost and Team Powell. I didn't expect that. I think I started with a very simple, bold idea of I wanted to make a difference. And I think with the help and a lot of hard work behind the scene with Frost and Powell Design, I think we've really nailed it for the first part. Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, as you said, it's the first part, and I know you're doing Chatswood that opens very soon, which is cool. And there's there's other work underway in terms of other venues, locally and internationally. What's kind of why are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? Again, I think the world has changed. The society has changed so much. I feel in my childhood there was a lot of, in modern terms, healthy organic play. I see the upbringing younger generation, they have to deal with all the digital stuff, which is sometimes a bit unhealthy, and for the child, for parents, and for our relationships and connections. But how do we modernize it? How do we slow down in modern society to be able to get down to that organic human connection again? Because that's something as human beings we all crave, we all need. So that's.
Yeah. I mean, and it's genuine too. How did you get the connection between the parents and the kids?
Number one, we built this concept and the physical environment itself purposely. So bear in mind, we, regardless of sizes or ages, we're all human beings, children and adults. So we built the space. If we as adults think a space is pleasant and we appreciate, I would assume children would have the same feelings towards it. Something I never understood was, I know there's a lot of traditional children's spaces that are filled with rainbow colors, and it becomes overstimulating for the adults. I understand children like color, but I also think children are equal to adults, and we would appreciate the same. So that's the physical space and the brand itself. On the other hand, the play experiences within NUBO we build is something great for parents to be a part of. as I said earlier, play is very important for children and adults too. We often forget with the sort of fast pace and digital heavy modern society, actually getting your hands onto actually doing something that refreshes your mind and then helps generate a lot of new ideas and creativity. The same process that sparks anything for children would spark the same beautiful, amazing things for adults too. Yeah, that's currently what we're working on, is workshops for children, for adults and children and families together.
That's cool.
Thank you.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you think about your education, like often, you know, kids are born to be very expressive and kind of explore and make incredible messes, whether it's with their poo when they're a kid or whether paint or whatever it might be. But they're highly expressive, and it seems to me that the education system is about kind of making people be neat, tidy, and conforming. I mean, this is kind of a wonderful place where you're encouraged, as beautiful as it is, you're encouraged to play, you're encouraged to make a mess, you're encouraged to express yourself, and I think that's something that is certainly, you know, scarily, that's becoming lost, you know, in what we do. Are there any more questions? Yep, sure.
Just two things. With what you referred to earlier about the issue of parents being distracted by using their phones, and it was a bit of a tipping point for your husband, did you address that with policy, like no phones or some particular measure to address that?
We don't, because as a parent myself, I have to say I'm constantly in two minds when I'm with my child. I understand about the organic human connection. On the other hand, I have 100 emails sitting in my inbox to be dealt with. That's the reason why we allow a balance. We would encourage a balance for parents to come in, enjoy a bit of me time too. I think it's healthy to parents to have a bit me time to be able to restore energy and sanity, and that allows you to be able to have a better connection with your child. Once you sort of refurbish your what's it called, refresh your mind, your energy, that's when you're ready to be connected to your child again in a very healthy way.
Just one other thing, with this particular gathering you've organised tonight, is there one key thing you're hoping to achieve, and why you have this particular group here tonight? Like, do you have a particular message or an outcome that you're hoping to achieve from this group?
Not particularly. I'm here today to share what I have learned in the past 2 years with all of the friends here today.
And the natures and the imagination and how the kids express that. I was actually just going to ask a question, we'll ask some more in a minute, but Mollie, did you ever want to give up on this? Not tonight, but just in terms of...
I think about that a lot.
No, not that, no, not still, but in the whole process, did you ever go, oh, you know what, this is so hard. I'm going to drop my kid off at the pool or something.
It's not my personality.
Yeah.
To say that.
Okay.
Or to.
Sorry,
to
I'm not saying
no,
it for you.
Because I see that as having a child as a commitment. There's no reverse. Once you have a child, you have a child. Once you have business, you deal with it. So no.
That's cool. No, I'm not saying about your child. I'm about the business.
The business. Yes.
Yeah. Well, there's a child too, I guess. Is that what you think? Is your baby?
Yeah, it's like when you have a business, it is like a child. Coming back to your question earlier, not really a question. Oh, you said when you first become a new parent, it's probably not the best time to start a business. But to me, that is the best time to start a business. I think to a lot of parents too, because this is the time you sort of realize, wow, I'm going through a huge transformation in my life, and I'm realizing. As much as I'm realizing the child's potential, I'm also realizing potentials of myself. I can handle so much and I can do it well. Yeah. And you constantly draw inspirations from other people and constantly trying to become a better person. And that's when the best time for me, and I believe for a lot of parents to start a business, because business, I guess business becomes more successful where business succeeds with more passion, with confidence, with faith. Yeah, that's what you have as a parent.
That's brilliant. That's a very good delayed answer.
Thank you.
But I do meet mums who say, well, I'm just a mum. When everyone talks about their careers, and sometimes a mum who's a full-time mum feels like they're not good enough either, you know what I mean? but it's kind of cool when the two work so well together in terms of raising a child or children and being fulfilled in your career and your life at the same time. I think that's obviously seems to be, well, whatever works for each individual, but it kind of, if you can make that work, that's absolutely to be celebrated, isn't it?
Thank you. I think every parent does it. Every parent, you just got to make it work. Yeah.
I think everybody involved was relentlessly determined to work together to achieve the goal. I think that, again, I think Sip touched on that earlier at the beginning, but like not often that, sometimes that's not that way, you know? We could say, oh God, Joey, geez, can't we do it? You know, everyone's trying to get kind of all of the job or a bit of the job they haven't got, but when you work with like with Joey and with Mollie, etc., it's like a new relationship. It's the beginning of something special. It's a new values or new insight, new capabilities, new talent that actually helps elevate the project beyond if we were just to do it ourselves. So that whole kind of like broader collaboration is what makes it, and the determination is what makes some things really special.
Absolutely. For me, there's also great learnings since we started working on this project together from all of the talents I've been working with together. Every time I work with, you know, think about children's entertainment, children's education. Normally people don't associate with that with interior design or graphic design or digital design. But I think having the opportunity to have worked with a great talented team here and at Power Design certainly opened up my mind and definitely showed me different perspectives and in, you know, it's not my domain, but still I think with different perspectives is very, it gives you more possibilities in opening up more possibilities.
Yeah, that's great, that's a great answer. Yep. Oh, sorry. Hold the way, I can't see you. Okay, go first. Sorry, we'll come back to you. One second.
So you have this fantastic design and you have this fantastic concept, but it's for me 50% of the deal, because afterwards it's the humans who bring it to life. So what was planned in terms of the recruitment process, the talents, the training, and as you get bigger as a chain, what kind of things are you putting into place to ensure that your ideology continues?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Having, again, I think coming back to the connection, we're all human being, having created the beautiful physical space and all the graphics and digital platforms that we can see and experience, we all, at the end of the day, down to the very organic human connections, and that's the reason why from day one we've been working together with a team of highly experienced and qualified educators and specialists come from different creative backgrounds and different social backgrounds to help us to build this experience and to help parents to be able to focus on the connection of them with other parents or their children or other children or the educators, to be able to have a conversation, to be able to have experience together while they walk away and they feel inspired